Hello, it's Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida. Welcome to the pile of 24mm lenses. Welcome to the Christmas room, too.
Sit back, relax. You are about to watch a Peter Gregg video. Something warm, human, and wonderful happens when you watch Peter Gregg.
Here we go. Welcome. We're running the M50 by Canon in its 4K mode. So a lot of guys will say, Peter, why are you bothering with the M50 camera? Don't you see it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that, and it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that? I agree with you. It doesn't do a lot of things. However, it's the only 4K camera that I could buy right now, and that comes from Canon, that is not using a weird or a very heavy-handed codec. This is like a normal codec, meaning, settings that you can use inside your own computer. And this makes it very important because many people have a Canon 80D or any one of the 80D type cameras, and they go, oh my gosh, if I can only have 4K in this camera. We got it in this camera. Okay, it's not the best. I understand that. You understand that. I'm sure your fingers are ready to write it out and tell me how bad you feel. But wait a minute. Hold on. It isn't only about you and me. There's people that have Canon lenses, and they're just itching for a way to get 4K so that they can use it on a normal way, on a normal basis in their either YouTubing or whatever videos that they're making at their house or their business and that type of thing. Well, unless you spend a lot of money, this is the only game in town. Until Canon gives us another camera to work with, this is the camera that we have to work with. So let's see what it actually does for those guys that have put hard-earned money, their own cash on the line. Don't you feel something for them? No? Oh, come on, that's not like you. All right, so this is what we've got, and let's see what we can work with. All right, so now I have got, what did I do? This is the right white, which is something new that's coming out. You can't get it yet, but this is how I'm going to do my color balancing. And so we've done that. The camera all of a sudden starts to make sense and starts to make good pictures and starts to make good videos when you start to put decent and good lenses on it. This is not a big surprise, but this is something that maybe a few people need to hear because it's actually quite important. So what I'm doing is I'm running it now, and I'm running everything at a professional level. I'm using the Wi-Fi to start and stop it. Let me tell you the settings. I'm at f1.4 with a 24mm lens. I'm going to get into that in a second. I can actually see the volume bars right here, not on the camera, but I can see them on the phone. So I can tell that I'm almost overmodulating if I get a little too loud here. It goes right up into the yellow. So I should have turned that down, which reminds me now, I'm no longer using the Rode Stereo Video Pro. I am now using the lav mic plugged directly into the input, and that's probably what I forgot to turn that down a little bit because I had to turn it up a little bit for the Rode mic. I'm shooting at 24p because it's the only choice I have. 1/50th of a second at f1.4, ISO 640. I'm using the neutral color profile, and I've lowered the contrast down all the way down, and I brought it back up 1. I lowered the sharpness all the way down, which in your case it would be like that way. Okay. I've lowered the sharpness down all the way down, and then I brought it up 1. Saturation, I just brought it down by 1. That was all. And the color tone, I moved it up by 2. And this is where we arrive. So that's what we're using for coloring. I used my own color balance using a right white tool. And what else did I have? What else do I have going? All right. So everything is at a pro level. I can't get it any better that I know of, okay? However, it's the lenses that we use. That's getting myself back on track. So here's the 24mm lenses, or some of them that'll fit on this camera. And the reason that I'm using 24 is because the camera has a 1.6 crop just from it having the 1.6 crop sensor. So a 100 millimeter lens is going to look like you cropped it down to 160. But if you say to yourself or to me, hey, I do want to use 4K, even if it's got a lot of handicaps to it, just show me how. And this is what we're doing. That's the point of this video. Actually, the last 3 or 4 videos taking me through the different steps of this camera. The first lens that I used was a 1545. This came with the camera. Now I checked the pricing on the camera is down to $699 from $899, and that includes this 15 to 45 lens. Now the trouble with this 15 to 45 lens is it starts at 3.5 and goes up to 6.3, which means the more you zoom and in low light, it's going to give you not such a good picture. On top of that, on top of all of that, the accutance, the sharpness of the lens itself, or its ability to become sharp if you hit it harder with sharpening, which is one of my secrets to the Canon cameras for 1080. So let's see what, for 1080p, let's see what happens with the 4K if I have to do the same thing. I lower the sharpness down in the camera because I want to add it back in the computer. I don't want the camera to do the work. I want the computer to do the work because the computer is better at it and I've got much more controllability. Fine-tuning it is a lot easier than I can in the camera. So this lens is proven to actually make the camera for me. Okay, other people have different points of view and I respect your point of view. But for me, that makes the camera look bad. So I would still buy it with the kit lens because, hey, it's a lens. If you go to resell it, you go, hey, yeah, I got a lens, so we use it. So the next lens after that was the 11 to 22, and we already did videos with that. That started to make it look better. Now, what really caused it to jump for me is a 22 millimeter pancake lens. That's an f2. So I started to say, let's see what lenses I can put on here. So right now I have the highest. I can either start from the lowest and work up or the highest and work down. So I decided to work from the highest, start from the highest and work down because it was already on the camera. So that's the method to my madness. That lens was on there, that's where we're starting. So Canon gives you a 24 millimeter 1.4 L lens. That's $1,550. The price comes up and down depending on if it's on sale. That's what's on there right now. It's the $1,600 lens. This is rounded up, okay? And that is the best that you could possibly get on this camera unless you go into exotic lenses, okay? And that requires an adapter. And Canon makes an adapter that's $150. And Velo makes an adapter that's $50. So that's the adapter that they sent me along with this camera. But there's no glass in the adapter, and I'm not using the autofocus feature, so the adapter is not affecting the quality. So $1,500, $1,600 for the Canon L lens, the 24 millimeter 1.4. And I started to tell you the 24 millimeter is being used because at 1.6 crop, this is what brings it so that I'm fairly, it resembles what I normally do, which kind of like starts over there with the grandfather's clock, and it comes around over to that Santa Claus. And that's what I use with my Sony cameras, and the GH5 camera that I had here, that was basically the field of view, give or take a little bit. So it takes the 24 millimeter lens, because the camera's a 1.6 crop, and then when you go to 4K, it adds another 1.6 crop. So you get 1.6 crop, which means 100 millimeter lens becomes 160 millimeters. And then you hit it with another penalty, another 1.6 crop. And that'll bring the 160 millimeters up to 256 millimeters. And that's how we get a 200 or a 2.56 crop. So now I'm checking on this, making sure we're still operating because we do have a time limit. I'm at 10 minutes plus here. So at 29 minutes, if I keep talking, I'm going to run out of room. All right, so after the Canon 24 millimeter 1.4 L lens, which is on here, and it is at 1.4, we have the Sigma 24 millimeter art lens, which is a 1.4. Now, right now, this one has the adapter on it for the Sony, because this same lens is a Canon mount, will adapt to the M50 with an adapter. I assume this would work on a Canon, let's say 90D, if they come out with a 90D, 7D Mark III, whatever their next one is that they're going to come out, is probably not going to be an M mount. As a matter of fact, they're talking about coming out with a mirrorless camera, and it might have its own adapter. So this is a 24mm art lens. We're going to put this on next. And after that, so that lens is $1,600. This lens is the Sigma Art is $749. So let's say it's almost half the price, or it is about half the price. And this lens I have found, I own this lens. This one is not a loaner. The L lens is a loaner. This is a really, really good lens. So we're going to put that 24mm on there. And then there's a 24mm 2.8 with image stabilization, and that's $550. And then they make another 24mm, this meaning Canon, that's 2.8 STM lens that will go on that camera for $129. And then they make this 22mm lens at f2. So it's 2mm off the 29mm for $249, and I've seen them as low as $199. So if you want to get into 4K and it doesn't bother you to have to manually focus, and I did, I manually focused. I brought this card over here, which stands in place of me. So I bring this card here, it's about as tall as me, and I put it about where I'm going to stand, and then I manually focus, and then I turn the focus, automatic focus off. So we don't have that pulsing going on, because as you know, Canon is not giving us the dual pixel focus in 4K. Now that's internal politics. That's where they're going, like, for this amount of money, we're only going to give you this many cookies. If you spend more money, we're going to give you more cookies. And if you spend more money, we're going to give you more cookies. So the problem here is you buy a dozen cookies from Canon, and you're really going to get 10 or 11 cookies. Where a company that's aggressive, like Sony, if you buy a dozen cookies, you're probably going to get 13 or 14 cookies. A dozen is 12 cookies, just in case you don't know that. Okay, so that's the difference between a company being very aggressive and hungry for your business versus a company that is whittling out every penny, and every penny counts. So I'm not going to knock them for that. They have the right to do business their way. So where was I going with that? So we're going to go down the list of lenses and put them on this camera. So this is the best I can do at this point. Okay, I've got everything manual. I've white balanced manually. ISO is set by me. The color profile is set by me. I turned all the automatic helper things off of that camera because this camera is an entry-level camera. So they put a lot of little helper things, but for somebody that knows the Canon system, where I pop in and out of Canon cameras quite often, maybe on a daily basis, all these little helper things were annoying to me. Now, maybe somebody that's new, they want the explanation. Click here for the camera to do everything automatically for you, and all you got to do is click. And then there's another choice, click here to go into a manual environment. I click there. And there's other things that I can turn down. So I talked a little bit longer here so you can see the quality. You can see what's happening. So the next lens I'm going to switch to is the Art lens, which is half the price. And then I don't have any of the other lenses on this list, but I do have the 22mm M lens, which is an f2. So we're going to start with the most expensive. Then we're going to go with the Art, which is half price. This is a Sigma 1.4 ART lens. I'll put links to this stuff down below so you don't have to go looking them up. And then we're going to wind up at this. So let's stop this now. I was going to walk over there to stop it, but you know what? I can stop it right here. So let me stop it, and then we'll switch lenses, and we'll come back with the Art lens, and you can see how that looks. All right, I took off the L lens. I manually focused again because I told you I'm not using the autofocus. So let's pull this out. And it was a little bit harder to manually focus the Sigma Art lens, probably because the ring is so much tougher. This is like smooth as silk. This is what the L lens, I couldn't show you this before because I was actually videoing on there. Let me make sure I'm running. Yep, we're running. And let's make sure I didn't bump any of the settings. 1/50th of a second because we're shooting in 24p. f1.4 on the art lens. ISO 640. So yep, we're doing good. So you can compare this with what I just did in the last section where I was using the 24mm Canon L lens, and this is the version 2. It's got 2 eyes on it, II, so this is the Mark II of the 24mm lens. So this is kind of like the balance or the sweet spot of money versus performance, because the next lens we're going to put on is the 22mm M lens, which is f2 instead of 1.4, so the background is going to look a little bit sharper. And if you like that, that's fine. I like the background a little bit more blurry. So this is as blurry as I can get unless I switch to a different type of lens. Now, with the adapter that I have on there, you can also put on there the 50mm L lens, which this is one of my own lenses. This is a gorgeous lens. This is kind of like a piece of jewelry. You kind of like want to set it there to show it off, but it does really good pictures. There's lenses that's actually sharper than that. For instance, this Sony 50mm, which competes with this Canon 50mm. This is a 1.2 and this is a 1.4, and that's a full stop of light, okay? So this one is significantly sharper than this. However, the colors and stuff are good on both of them, so they each have their desirable points. So this is what the Sigma cost looks like. Let me tell you what it cost again. So this lens, when I looked it up, is at B&H for $749. The lens that I just took off is $1,500. Now the whole point of this exercise is to try to coax the M50 to give us the best 4K it can give us, because there's so many of you guys that have Canon stuff and you are just panting and waiting for Canon to bring you 4K. This is our first entry into that. I have to admit I'm very curious too. Now there's a lot of people that have already poo-pooed it. It's like, no, don't want to be bothered. You can't give me proper focus. You can't give me that. I'm not giving you my money, Canon. And that's well and good because I can feel that way myself. However, if you're invested and you go out to work and you leave at 8:30 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning and you work all day and you come back at night and you use that money that you have worked for to buy a camera, it's not so easy to start jumping around and, oh, just sell this and buy that. So you become very eager to see what the company that you're rooting for will actually give you. So that's why we're going through this exercise. So that's what the Sigma looks like. I'm going to take that off and I'm going to put this pancake lens, which I've already done a video, so you've seen it. The quality is not as good as these two, but it's not bad. So let me prove it to you. Let me put the lens on there and I'll show you. Now this is an M lens. It's not going to even need an adapter. It's going to go on the camera body directly and make the camera look very small. Look how small that lens is. It's very small. All right. It's still not going to give you autofocus. It doesn't matter. The fact that we're using an adapter does not interfere with the autofocus because we're on manual. And when you're actually using it, let's say in 1080, the autofocus does very good because it's got dual pixel focus. So everybody's waiting with bated breath, and we're in that territory where there's different camera announcements coming and coming and coming. And one of these times they're going to announce something that you're going to like and I'm going to like. All right, so let's stop this. I'll sing the 4K song, but I'm going to stop it first. And this is the lens that's going to be on next, all right? All right, we're rolling again. Here I am. I had to manually focus it, remember, because in 4K, we don't want to use the autofocus that the camera does, because it basically, how do you say it in English? It sucks. So this was the Sigma that was just on there now, and this is the adapter. I never had a chance to show you the adapter. So this is the adapter. The lens just mounts right on the adapter, and you could put any lens that is an EF lens onto this adapter. Canon makes one and Velo makes one, and the one that they sent me was Velo, and that is on B&H. I will give you the link down below so you don't have to go hunting for it. But this adapter does magical things because you could put this Canon 50mm L lens, if you've got an L lens, an expensive one. I got the 85 also. It's not in this room. I got the cheap $125 lens, which is the 50mm 1.8 STM lens. All these regular lenses from the Canon world and from the Sigma world, from the Tamron world, all these different brands will mount on there because of the adapter that allows you to go down to the M cameras. Now, when they do come out with a newer camera that's not an M camera, let's say the 80D becomes a 90D, or let's say the 77D becomes a 78D, who knows? All right, those will just take the native lenses all by themselves. By the way, I raised the ISO because we're at f2 now from f1.4. So I gave it more light. And look, we got a lot more because it's 22 millimeter instead of a 24 millimeter. That silly little 2 millimeters. You can see the black of the lampstand there, unless I crop it out by the time you guys see it. But you can see so much more in this picture. And where's Jingles? He's sitting on this chair. He's never sat on that one before. So I guess that's his new spot. And if I want to go sit there, the camera won't follow me because I don't have the dual pixel focus on because it's not a choice. Now, what I could do, which is going to upset everything, is I could actually move this table more forward because you notice how everything's more in the back. Let's do it, okay? What the heck? It's just a few more frames. There was a special sale on frames this weekend, so I got a few extra frames to throw into this video so we don't have to worry about it. So it looks like that's closer, but honestly, I think I can actually get a little bit closer. Okay, so this gets to be interesting. We'll move it up another 6 inches. We'll move this side of the desk up. I better move the light back so we're not overexposed. And you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to manually refocus. But before I do that, I purposely stepped in here with what? I would say I moved myself up about a foot. The 2.0 gives you that much depth of field that it doesn't have to be super duper incredibly sharp. Now, I hope I don't have to stop the video to refocus, but I guess we'll find out in a second. I'll talk to you all the way through it so that I don't just leave you standing there wondering what the heck is happening. Okay, I did have to restart and stop the video and restart it again because I could not focus. I couldn't get the enlarged focusing on there to make the letters right, all right? So the other adjustment that I could make, you see when you put a different lens, you got to retune your whole set. So actually the camera needs to be tilted down a little bit because I'm too high, and I'm going to crop that out. Now when I crop that out, you're not going to be able to see the stuff on the desk anymore. But the point isn't here for you to see the desk. You didn't come here to see the desk. You came here so that you could see that you have options to make this camera work really well for you. And that becomes a very important feature for a $699 camera. You can get Canon 4K by picking out one of these lenses, a $1,500 lens, a $750 lens, or a $200 lens. I was looking for it, but it's right up there. So you have different entry points. So let's say you go for the $250 lens and you get it on sale for $200. And you go for, and it's the camera's on sale for $699 right now with a free lens. I don't recommend this lens to be your main lens if you're going to be a YouTuber or if you're going to make videos, quality videos. Just a little more money. So let's say $200. So $900 is going to give you this lens, the camera, and the lens you're watching right now. And you're able to shoot in 4K. You can't autofocus in 4K unless you spend more money, and we don't know yet what Canon's going to force us into to spend and what kind of hoops they're going to make, for the 4K to be available. For instance, they could make a 90D, and it could have the same system as this. So if you go to 4K, maybe they will give you dual pixel focus in that, but they're still going to give you an additional 1.6 crop. That's where my nickel. Okay, if everybody's going to put their bets on the table, my bet on the table is that Canon is not going to give you a wider or a less of a crop until you get into maybe higher money and when they start pushing the mirrorless. But even the mirrorless has got some tricks up its sleeve based on what I've been reading. It looks like they may make an adapter. Where did I put the adapter? Oh, here it is. They may make an adapter that reverses what's going on now, very much like the Metabones, where you're going to be able to put a full frame lens on the camera, and it'll enlarge it like the Metabones does, and still give you the smaller crop area. It's all mathematics, okay, and it's all dollars too, because Canon has a $7,500 cinema camera, the C200 that gives you 4K, just similar to this. The 4K there is very resilient, does very good. The camera also gives you RAW, but the camera starts at $7,500. You can get a stripped down version where you get no eyepiece, you get no LCD for $6,500. What good is that? You can't see nothing. Nothing, honey. Well, you can. You could see it on an iPad. So if you want to run the camera off of the iPad, $6,500. But the camera with the normal stuff on there, with the handle and the LCD and the tap screens and all that, is $7,500. So I don't think they're going to chop their own legs off by saying, okay, $3,000, $2,000, like the 6D Mark II. If that camera had the 4K that this camera has, even with the sucko stinky, focusing system, that would make it a much more appealing camera, because you know what? Sony is sitting here waiting for your money. $2,000, they give you full frame, they give you amazing focus. I can walk anywhere in this room practically and the camera will focus on me. $2,000. Canon's $2,000 camera doesn't have 4K in it at all. However, this one won't give me articulating screen, and Sony acts surprised that I would want one. Hello, what rock have you been sleeping under? And the Canon 6D does give you the articulating screen. But again, Canon gives you very poor 1080 if you drop it out of 4K, which you don't even have 4K to drop it out of, but I can drop this one out of 4K, and the 1080 is not bad. So the camera before this, the 1080 was bad. Okay, so there we have it. You've got all these entry points. If you want to do 4K and use the Canon glass that you've got, or get into Canon glass and have 4K because you want the dual pixel focus for the 1080 level cameras resolutions, then we just went through the 3 different price points: $1,500, $750, and $200 or $250. So it's roll the dice. And how much money do you got in your pocket? So that's where we're sitting. I hope that this gave you an opportunity to see what the background's going to look like at f2, at f1.4, and what the quality levels is for the different price points. So that's it. It's who's here? Me and Jingles. You sitting on Peter's chair? Can you see him? Is he a little bit in focus? I really can't tell on here. It doesn't, the resolution is not high enough for me to tell. Actually, on here, he doesn't look half bad. I'm going to bring him up after the video's over, so you guys can go now. The video is pretty much over. I'm moving the lenses out of the way. And then Jingles is going to come up here, and we're going to have Jingle Bell time. All right. Yep, we're running. Always have to check to see if we're running, because I can make an entire YouTube video and then get into the office, and there ain't nothing there. All right, Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida. You got what you got. We gave you what we gave you. Make sure you sign up for my Patreon page. Those of you that love me and you want to love me a little bit more than you already do, I don't have a Patreon page, so you can't go sign up. But I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it, and I'm starting to work on it. So what I can ask, if those of you that haven't been here before, please subscribe. I'm asking for your subscription. And those that have, thank you very much. Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida. Catch you later. Bye-bye. Whoosh.
You have just watched another Peter Gregg video. Something warm, human, and wonderful happens when you watch Peter Gregg. Thank you for watching. Description of all equipment used in this video, plus any notes Peter took while filming, are always placed in the description box, show more box, or down arrow thingy next to the title on mobile apps. Duly noted.
You want to come up here with Peter? Oh. Does Jingle Bells want to come up here with Peter? You want to come up to the desk? Oh, Jingles knows all about the desk. Yeah, he does. You gonna give me your paw? No, I don't want that paw. On this side. Turn around. Come on. Turn around. For those of you who have been keeping track, he's been doing so much better. Went to the vet yesterday. All right, give me your paw. No, I don't want to be you lick me. All right, he just wants to chill. We've been doing so much better. I did something wrong. I'm looking to see. There's a black spot here. That thing's a flea. You're going to have to get a pill. Yeah. So, and I hate those pills. They're all poison. It's like giving, here's some poison for you. You know, that's like, this is the way we take care of our dogs. So he's been doing so much better. And then we had a 2-day relapse. And it was my fault. It wasn't the dog's fault. He didn't get sick. I got him sick. And it's something that I shouldn't have done. I let the food stay in the refrigerator more than 3 days. Actually, it's 6 days. So I think the food started to get spoiled because I popped one in my mouth. And it's all human grade food that I give him now. No dog food. No dog food is allowed in this house. Or let me rephrase it. No commercial grade food, which is what dog food is that you buy off the shelf, is allowed in this house anymore. He's getting dog food designed for him. I've been starting to make videos on that. I'm going to put them on my other channel, and I'm probably going to put that in the Patreon too. We'll have a Jingle Bells level that those that give a certain amount a month will get all kinds of information on Jingle Bells. Thanks, guys. I know you were telepathing that to me. Why don't you make a Jingle Bells level in your Patreon page? That's a great idea. All right, that's it. We're done. And the cool thing is with this camera, I can use the phone to turn it on and off. So you're going to go. You're going to leave now, okay? What do you think this is? Ferris Bueller's off? His day off? Ferris Bueller doesn't have today off. So go. Ferris is working today. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to be funny. I'm not so good at it, am I? All right. Thanks for watching. When I push this button, you're gone.